We find Fox 40's Joe Khalil. And Joe, you were out there a year ago when all of this started, so it goes without saying that you are seeing a stark difference from year to year.
Eric, it's like day and night. You know, I mean, there are still signs here of this fire. We're standing in an empty lot where there was a home. But you know, what you also see, and you can actually even hear in the air, is hope, reconstruction here. You can see that there are a number of homes that are now being rebuilt. And there's a real sense of community among people who all have had this sort of shared tragedy. And you really can feel that. As you mentioned, there are more people that are going to be meeting up tonight for a vigil of sorts. So that's where we stand here today. Now we want to show you another place also ravaged by the Tubbs fire. And it's a little bit away from here. It's the Harrison Finley Ranch. This is an area that was really a historic place. It was up for 127 years in Santa Rosa before the Tubbs fire came and left it in ruins. And we actually got a chance to speak with the grandson of the woman who was in that home during the evacuation process, Alex Linwood, that grandson. Here's what he had to say to us.
Every holiday, every big get together, this was the place that it was. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, everything, birthdays, we would do family dinners every Sunday night here. So it was something that we, I mean, if we were having an event or a get together, it was Grandma and Papa's house is where we would go.
High school, bringing all your guy friends.
Now, you know, what we heard from him is something that we've heard in this neighborhood in Coffee Park as well. People just thankful that they made it out as his grandmother did. Unfortunately, 22 people did not make it out of the Tubbs fire. And guys, if we can come back out here live, I just want to leave you with the vision of what hope and what reconstruction here in this neighborhood actually looks like. You know, when we talk about rebuilding lives after a tragedy like this is what it looks like. So I want to leave our viewers with that before we send it back to you guys in the studio, Eric and Nikki.
Yeah, really incredible to see the work. There's now 1 year later. Fox 40's Joe Khalil joining us now live at Coffee Park as neighbors and friends gather to remember and to heal, Joe.
Yeah, Nikki, and you know, signs, physical signs of that fire are everywhere here. I mean, you see there are still trees that are burned at this point. If you take a look closer this way, a lot where there is no more home, but you see there's that basketball net that has just completely burned, just the rim left up there. And really what that shows is that it's just signs of activity, signs of life that a year ago today were completely destroyed in just a matter of about 24 hours. Entire areas here leveled. Different story now, but you know, again, those physical signs that you can see, they're everywhere. But what's harder to see is the emotional toll that this takes on people, the psychological effect that it has on some people who are still now in fear that something like this may happen again. We were able to talk to some people who even a year later are now dealing with that very fear.
You can walk into a room and just feel it. It doesn't matter if it was a room full of fire survivors or a room full of people who were not affected by it. Everyone feels the tension and the worry and the anxiety of what happened last October.
Now, what you just heard there, clearly something that's warranted. We had 22 people die in this fire. We had more than 5,600 homes in 3 different counties that burned down. So those are the things that people have in their minds fresh. But if we can come out live, I just want to show you one more thing. And this is really what it's about. This Coffee Strong campaign, really, that was started by people who live in this neighborhood. And they started it because, you know, it's never an easy thing to have to deal with the stresses of insurance, of rebuilding, of getting permits. But you combine that with the emotional toll that you just heard that woman describe there. So never an easy thing to deal with, but it certainly becomes easier when there's a sense that other people are dealing with that same emotion. And so in that light and in that spirit, that's why they're having this vigil tonight. The same people who organized this Coffee Strong campaign, and we're seeing signs of it everywhere. We're going to be there for that vigil tonight, but yet another reminder that despite the emotional toll this has taken on people, there's certainly a sense of unity here that's really carrying people, helping them deal with that emotional toll. Eric, Nikki?
All right, Joe Khalil live for us tonight in Santa Rosa. Joe, thank you very much, and we hope you'll join.
Joe Khalil was there nearly a year ago as homes burned, and he is back out there live tonight. Joe.
Yeah, Nikki, and you're starting to see that ceremony that you referenced. People are just now beginning to show up. About 24 people out here already. There is still an hour to go until it begins. But what you're seeing are signs of life here. You can see just beyond this group the reconstruction of those homes. Again, life sort of returning, while at the same time remembering the 5 people who died from this neighborhood. They're going to be honoring those people at this vigil here tonight. It was a year ago today that people's lives changed incredibly, and nowhere was that more felt than at schools. At Redwood Adventist Academy, students and faculty there, they had to evacuate. By the time they got back to that school, there was nothing left. It was in rubble, much like some of the homes in this neighborhood. Real adjustment for people to have to deal with that. Now, the students finished out their school year, but they did it at a church nearby. So fast forward to now, this school year, classes are being held back at the original campus, not fully built up back yet, but just another sign, that things are starting to return to a sense of normalcy here.
I could tell in the first 2 days of the school year that the energy's great. We have a great group. They're excited to be here. So we're small, but we're powerful, and we're going to come back strong.
And now, that school used to be a K through 12. At this point, the high school program has been suspended, but there is a plan to reinstate those high school classes. Again, it's just a rebuilding and a readjustment here. There is a plan to get that done by 2020. And I want to mention before we go that, again, these folks here, this is a ceremony. They are remembering the 5 people from this neighborhood who died. We're told that there are going to be family members from some of those victims here tonight. So while, again, we are celebrating a year later life coming back and people rebuilding their homes and their lives, there is still a sense that we can't forget the lives lost in this Tubbs fire. Eric, Nikki.
All right, Joe Khalil live for us tonight in Santa Rosa. And Joe, so much more on this story to come. We're just 30 minutes for us tonight in Santa Rosa's Coffee Park with more on how these families are not just remembering that time, Joe, but also rebuilding in that process.
Yeah, rebuilding is the key word here. When you think about areas that have been devastated by the Tubbs fire, nowhere comes to the forefront of most people's minds here in Santa Rosa than this Coffee Park neighborhood. Of the 5,600 homes or so that were destroyed, 1,300 of them were right here. Now, as you mentioned, there is a ceremony tonight. You're getting a look at a number of people who are out here. And what's really remarkable is the sense of resiliency that we're seeing in this neighborhood. A number of people have come out here and developed their own Coffee Strong campaign. There are signs all over this area that reflect that. It's really just a big support group. A lot of people coming out here just making a statement that they're not alone. If you're struggling through this rebuilding process, you're not alone. We spoke to the organizer of the event tonight. Here's how she describes why this event is so important.
We're going to get together just for an hour and pause. We're not going to try to answer insurance questions. We're not going to answer permitting questions, but we're going to acknowledge that we've all been through something really terrible, and that together we're leaning on each other to make progress. And I'm hoping that the event has just the right amount of poignancy, but hope as well.
Now you can see that there's a stage set up. Some people from the Sonoma County Philharmonic are going to be here playing music. There's also going to be poetry that's going to be read. And we have to remember that of the 22 people who died in the Tubbs fire, 5 of them died from this neighborhood. So there are 5 trees that are planted in their memory. Family members of those victims, I'm told, are going to be here as well. This is really about them, if you ask people here. Now, we mentioned progress. Certainly a lot of it has been made, and what we want to show you now is a view from above. And what you're seeing are 3 different views of this very Coffee Park neighborhood. One just a couple of days last year after this fire happened, another at the 9-month mark, showing recovery, showing again rebuilding, and then the last image showing you what this neighborhood looks like from Drone 40 now. And you can see a remarkable sense of progress, and that really has given people a lot of hope. I want to run through some numbers for you as well. And this is just in terms of the rebuilding process from the city of Santa Rosa. So far, homes that have been completely rebuilt, 25. Currently, homes that are under construction at 743, and homes that are going to be rebuilt, permits that have been issued, 438. So again, signs of progress, and if you're in this neighborhood physically, if you can come back out here live, you're seeing it all around. Homes that are being rebuilt, and you can hear cranes, you can hear construction all day. Now, we have to mention that taking it outside of just this neighborhood, the bigger picture, in Sonoma County in general, the housing crisis was already a problem. There were already a shortage of housing, and that was really having an effect on people and on the homelessness issue. And when you factor in that we had this devastating fire wiping out thousands of homes, that problem only became worse. Fox 40's Doug Johnson has a look at that story.
This is where I sleep, right here at the back, so I have the back door so I can get out faster and easier since I'm more younger, and it's more easier for me to get out the back than my mom can.
Jeremy Marney lives with his Fox 40 News.
We should mention that Sonoma County is instituting some programs to make sure that there are low-income people who aren't left out, but that they can also get assistance and be more competitive in trying to find new homes. Before we leave this area, this live ceremony here that's going to start, I just want to mention the numbers here. To my right, dozens of people, to my left and behind me, dozens of people here that are waiting for this ceremony to begin. So it, again, just shows you the resiliency and the togetherness of this neighborhood. Now, we can't forget first responders, because we have the people here who've lost homes, we have people who've lost loved ones, but we had first responders that came into this neighborhood on that fateful night 1 year ago who had to deal with these fires, who had to deal with these red flag conditions. Their story is one that sometimes is untold when we talk about victims, and again, people who really have to see devastation up close. So we're going to send it back over to Christina Warner in the studio for a really important perspective on that part of this story. Christina.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. Yes, we have Mike Mueller here from Cal Fire.
Hear all of those stories. Now, we are back out live. This is just the beginning. In a couple of minutes, this ceremony here in Coffey Park is going to begin for people who've not only lost homes, but for people who have lost their lives as well. And we actually have Pamela Van Helsema here, who started the Coffee Strong campaign. I'll ask you first, seeing all of these people out here, sort of what this means for you a year later, seeing all of these people here.
Well, I was one of the people, but we like to bring Jeff Okrepke's name forward because he really formed the group, and I was one of the early people who was part of that movement. But what it means is together we've shared a big experience, and it was a bad experience, the fire. But together we're problem solving and moving forward, and together we are caring about each other. Look at my neighbors. I didn't know most of these people before, but now I know them, and we're both helping each other and receiving help.
Okay. And to see the progress that's already been made, we have a number of homes that are under construction. Construction crews here all day. And that has to give you some sort of respite from this support.
Normally, if the fire hadn't happened, we'd kind of complain about construction noise. It is music to our ears. When we hear houses going up and drills and shovels, we couldn't be more happy, because it means we're getting our neighborhood back. And that's really what Coffee Strong's all about. Getting our neighborhood built and back to normal.
Pamela, we got about 10 seconds left. Yeah. Can you just sort of take us through what is going to happen here tonight?
Tonight we are going to take a pause and not think about insurance and not think about building contracts, but we're going to acknowledge in a quiet way everything we've been through together and breathe for a second.
I think together is that key word. That's what we're seeing here all day. So yeah. Pamela, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nikki, Eric, we're going to send it back to you on that note.
All right, Joe, thanks so much. Hearing her say construction's usually a noise that we don't want to hear, but that's music to their ears in that coffee.